Welcome everyone to Lively Later Life. We're so glad you could join us. This is the channel, designed specifically for you. Our really curious, active Canadian seniors, folks who are focused on keeping the mind sharp, making clear decisions, and just making sure the future stays bright and engaging. It's great to have you spending this time with us today.
It really is, and we've gathered some, well, fantastic insights for this session. We're diving deep into something really crucial. The idea that optimizing your later years, it isn't just about waiting for problems. No, it's more about um, thoughtful, consistent, proactive steps, preventative medicine, really. And maybe the most powerful preventative medicine for the brain as we age. It's about intentional, disciplined, positive thinking.
Right. And when we say positive thinking, I think it's important to be clear. We're not talking about, those motivational posters or just constant forced cheerfulness. This isn't just feel-good fluff. It's actually based on how the brain works, the structure of it all. We've pulled out three core actionable routines from our research today. Routines that are simple enough, truly, that you could start them tomorrow morning. And they're designed to help, well, rewire the brain a bit, make optimism feel more like your automatic setting.
Exactly. And maybe to frame this discussion, let's start with a scenario that I think many of us can relate to. It comes from one of our listeners, Margaret, out on Vancouver Island. She reached out feeling like she was just running on empty, and her description of her morning routine was just a perfect example of how easily we can accidentally sabotage our own mental health right from the start of the day.
Oh, I remember Margaret's story. Yes, it felt so familiar, didn't it? She was doing what we're often told we should do, stay informed, stay connected. But it was having the complete opposite effect on her sense of well-being.
That's exactly it.
Right.
Margaret would wake up often quite early, maybe before the sun was even properly up.
Yeah.
And her very first instinct, grab the tablet. First stop, the news. National, international. And let's be honest, most days that's a steady stream of crisis or political arguments or, discouraging economic news. That's the first thing going in.
Right, a big dose of just generalized worldwide anxiety before you've even had coffee.
Precisely. Then she'd switch straight over to her email.
Yeah.
And what's usually waiting in the inbox for many retired Canadians? Requests from volunteer groups, maybe urgent questions from family, perhaps a bill reminder pops up, or an email about a sudden change to a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, requests, demands, things you feel you need to fix or deal with right away. It shifts you from just worrying passively to feeling this active pressure, this obligation.
And the result, Margaret told us, by 9:00 a.m., she hadn't even had breakfast yet, but she already felt anxious, completely drained mentally, and just convinced she was somehow behind before the day even really started. So she was beginning every single day by feeding her brain pure stress and worry. And underneath it all, she'd sort of accepted this idea that, well, because she was getting older, her brain was just, destined to slow down and worry more.
And that belief, that right there is the core myth we really want to help you dismantle today. This idea that the brain is somehow, I don't know, guaranteed to decline, or that worry just becomes the default mode as we age. It's fundamentally untrue. Based on everything we now know about neuroscience,
It's such a vital point. The human brain, regardless of how many candles were on your last birthday cake, it's this magnificent machine. It's built for continued learning, for growth. That's neuroplasticity, right? We can absolutely teach our brains new tricks, new positive ways of operating. The absolute truth is that your long-term brain health, your ability to think clearly, your emotional balance, it all follows your dominant thought patterns.
So if you constantly feed your brain worry, like Margaret was doing without even realizing it, your brain gets frighteningly good at finding more things to worry about. It literally builds a superhighway for stress. Our mission here, in this deep dive, is really to transform positive thinking from just a nice idea into a solid, repeatable action plan. Something that replaces that anxiety with, well, sustainable energy and clarity.
So we really encourage you, as we go through this, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself honestly, what is the very first thing that pops into your head when you wake up? Is it something positive? Or is it that instant checklist of things you need to do, potential worries looming? Because that very first internal comment, it really does set the tone, the trajectory for your whole nervous system for the rest of the day.
Okay, so let's get into the why. Before we jump into the specific routines, let's talk about the science. Why does just choosing to think positively actually work? On a functional physical level in the brain, is it just kind of fooling ourselves, or is there real change happening?
Oh, it's absolutely demonstrable change. And it really comes down to brain chemistry. When you consciously, intentionally shift your focus to something positive, maybe a feeling of looking forward to something, or a nice memory, or just a moment of gratitude, you immediately trigger the release of some very beneficial neurochemicals. It's like the brain's own internal pharmacy starts dispensing happiness.
And what are the main chemicals involved there, the key players?
Well, the primary duo we talk about are dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine, that's often linked to motivation, pleasure, the reward system, gives you that little get up and go feeling. And serotonin, that's our natural stabilizer. It helps promote feelings of well-being, calm, emotional stability. When they flood your system, the immediate result is, well, your mood lifts and you generally feel more capable of handling whatever the day throws at you.
And crucially, this positive input, it's actively working against the exact opposite chemical reaction, isn't it? Like we saw with Margaret's morning routine.
Exactly. The flip side is cortisol. When you wake up and the first thing you do is absorb bad news or start catastrophizing about your to-do list, you're basically flooding your system with cortisol. That's the main stress hormone. Now, cortisol isn't inherently bad. It has a vital job. If there's real danger, it sharpens your senses, gives you that burst of energy to react.
Right, the whole fight or flight thing and the metaphorical bear in the kitchen, as you said.
Precisely. But the problem is, when cortisol is produced constantly, due to that chronic low-level worry, worrying about traffic or dreading a doctor's visit, stressing over bills month after month, when it's sustained like that, it actually becomes quite destructive. The research is really clear on this. Sustained cortisol production, day in, day out, actively damages the hippocampus, and that's the primary memory center in the brain.
Wait, let's just pause on that for a second. Are you saying that chronic worry isn't just mentally tiring, but it literally attacks the physical part of the brain responsible for making and recalling memories?
That is exactly what the science shows. Chronic stress, chronic worry, it leads to inflammation and even atrophy, a kind of shrinking in the hippocampus.
Yeah.
So shifting towards positive thinking isn't just about feeling a bit better in the moment. It's about actively replacing that energy-sapping, memory-damaging cortisol with energy-boosting, stabilizing dopamine and serotonin. It's like preventative maintenance for your brain, specifically keeping that crucial hippocampus healthy and functional.
It's truly fascinating. And neuroscientists confirm this isn't just about the chemicals released right then and there. It actually changes the brain's physical structure, the architecture over time, right? When we repeatedly choose positive thoughts, we're actually building stronger connections, stronger pathways.
That's a great way to put it. Imagine your brain like a dense forest. The first time you worry about something specific, you're kind of hacking a narrow path through the undergrowth. But if you keep driving your thoughts down that same anxious path again and again, well, that path gets wider, smoother. Eventually, it becomes paved, like a highway, becomes the brain's default automatic route. So our mission with these routines is to consciously start paving a brand new highway, a 6-lane superhighway for optimistic, problem-solving, rational thoughts.
And that, everyone listening, that's what we mean when we talk about reinforcing the positive circuit. I sometimes think about it like insulating electrical wires. It's not just that the new positive path exists, we're strengthening the insulation around it, the myelin sheath, neurologically speaking, so that the positive thought, the signal, travels much faster and more efficiently than the old, worn-out, anxious pathway. We're deliberately making the choice for happiness and clarity, the path of least resistance in the brain.
Exactly. These routines, they aren't just feel-good exercises. Think of them as structural engineering projects for your mind. You're intentionally building a better, clearer, happier highway for your thoughts to travel on by default.
Okay, let's dive into the first routine then. Routine number 1. This one is, I think, the fastest, most accessible way to get that immediate emotional shift. It just takes about a minute. We call it the 60-second gratitude practice.
Right. But before we get to the how-to, let's just quickly revisit that typical wake-up default.
Yeah.
Because understanding that is key to seeing why this works. As you start to wake up, as consciousness kind of flickers back on, what does the mind usually do? It often runs this sort of mental inventory, doesn't it? And frequently, it focuses on what's lacking or what needs doing.
Oh, definitely. It's that little nagging voice, isn't it? Did I remember to call Sarah back? Is the kitchen tidy enough for visitors? Ugh. Why is my knee stiff today? Is that appointment next week going to be bad news?
That mental checklist, even though it might seem practical on the surface, essentially puts your brain straight into a state of stress and deficit. It highlights what you don't have, what you must do, or what might potentially go wrong. It rarely starts by appreciating what you actually do have right here, right now.
So the antidote, this 60-second solution, it's like giving your brain an intentional, specific command to shift that search pattern immediately.
Precisely. The practice itself is incredibly simple. The commitment is this. Before your feet even hit the floor in the morning, and this is crucial, before you check your phone or turn on the news, You must consciously identify three things, three specific things you're genuinely grateful for right in that moment.
And let's really emphasize that word genuine. Because trying to force some huge abstract gratitude like I'm grateful for world peace first thing in the morning, that can feel overwhelming or just, well, fake. We're not asking you to conjure up massive epiphanies. We're talking micro gratitudes, small present comforts.
Absolutely. Think really small, really immediate, things that are actually working in your favor right then. Maybe it's just the warmth of the blanket still tucked around you, or the fact that your mattress feels comfortable and supportive. Perhaps you hear a bird singing outside your window, and that's pleasant. Or, for our Canadian listeners, maybe on a chilly morning, it's simply the quiet hum telling you the central heating is working perfectly. The simpler, the more tangible and immediate, the better, especially when you're just starting this practice.
Okay, but what's the actual mechanism here? What's the magic? Why does focusing on my warm blanket help my brain function better throughout the day?
Well, the magic, so to speak, is in the cognitive process it triggers. It's a direct command that essentially short-circuits the default stress response.
Mm.
When you ask your brain, okay, what am I grateful for right now? You force it to stop its usual worry-based inventory taking. Instead, it has to immediately start searching your current environment, your recent memories, for positive evidence.
Ah, so you're actively making the brain look for abundance instead of scarcity.
Exactly that. This deliberate search function shifts the focus away from deficits, away from perceived obligations or potential threats. It redirects your attention towards contentment, towards what's actually good in the moment. And this conscious, deliberate action instantly kickstarts the production of those beneficial brain chemicals we talked about, dopamine, serotonin. It's the most direct, intentional counterpunch to the cortisol that worry produces. You're basically taking control of your emotional state in just 60 seconds.
I think sometimes the idea of keeping a formal gratitude journal, writing things down, it can feel like just another task on the to-do list. It might even add a little pressure to the morning, especially if writing feels a bit tedious or maybe physically difficult first thing.
That's a really good point and a common challenge. So if writing it down feels too much like homework, don't write it. Share it. And that leads perfectly into our lively later life kick for this first routine.
Ah, I like this idea, sharing the positive. It really does amplify the feeling, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. So the actionable tip is this. During your first interaction of the day, maybe the first phone call you make, or when you first see your partner or a family member, try starting the conversation differently. Instead of leading with a chore or a complaint or the news, try saying something like, "You know what I'm genuinely grateful for this morning? I'm just really appreciating the taste of this first cup of coffee," or "I'm so glad the sun is finally peeking through the clouds today."
It's interesting sharing positivity like that. It's not just being pleasant. It serves a double purpose, really. It reinforces that positive neural pathway for you, the speaker, because you've just stated your positive evidence out loud. And very often it prompts a positive, appreciative response from the person you're talking to, which reinforces that positive circuit even more. It kind of sets this wonderful positive tone for both of your days, pulling both of you out of that potential Margaret-style stress trap right from the get-go.
Precisely. A small action with a potentially significant ripple effect.
Okay, that's routine one. Powerful stuff for just 60 seconds. Let's move on to routine number two. This one's a really powerful tool for dealing with things during the day because, let's face it, even if we start the morning feeling grateful, life inevitably throws little curveballs, doesn't it? Appointments get canceled, technology glitches, we make small, frustrating mistakes. So we call this technique the reframing filter, or sometimes just flipping the script.
hmm And the challenge this routine addresses is what we might call the brain's default interpretation problem. When those small, annoying things happen, and they happen to everyone, especially as we get older, sometimes the brain can automatically jump to, well, catastrophic conclusions or really harsh self-criticism.
Right, it's that immediate internalization of the setback, isn't it? Like your friend cancels lunch and that inner voice instantly goes, oh, they don't really care about me anymore. Or maybe I must have done something wrong last time we spoke. Or, you make a mistake trying to fill out some online form and the script in your head yells, see, I'm losing my touch. This proves I'm getting forgetful.
hmm
That kind of self-critical loop is just so damaging to your confidence and mood.
It really is. It triggers unnecessary emotional distress. And guess what? It ramps up that cortisol production all over again just when you thought you had it managed. So the solution here is the reframe, and it's accessed by consciously interrupting that negative emotional loop. You interrupt it with one single powerful question. You ask this question whenever a negative thought starts to bubble up or whenever one of those minor annoyances occurs.
Okay, so what's the magic question? The one designed to stop that emotional hijacking in its tracks.
The question is, what is the gift or lesson in this?
What is the gift or lesson in this?
Now, I know what some people might be thinking listening to this. You might be skeptical. You might think, hold on, you're telling me if my friend cancels an important lunch date, I should just immediately look for the gift. That sounds like pretending I'm not disappointed, which doesn't feel very healthy.
That's a really important point to address directly. That potential skepticism is valid. We are absolutely not asking you to suppress genuine feelings like disappointment or frustration. Those are normal initial reactions. The purpose of asking what is the gift or lesson is to prevent that initial valid disappointment from spiraling downwards, to stop it from turning into destructive self-pity or blame or that catastrophic thinking we talked about.
Exactly. The reframe isn't about emotional denial. It's really an act of mental discipline. It's about redirecting your focus. Let's run through those examples again to see how this filter actually works in practice. Take the social situation. Your friend cancels lunch last minute. Okay, initial feeling, disappointment, maybe a flicker of rejection. That's normal. But then you immediately deploy the question. Okay, hang on. What is the gift here?
And the answer shifts your perspective entirely, doesn't it? It could be, okay, well, this actually gives me an extra 2 hours I wasn't expecting. Brilliant. Now I can finally make progress on that knitting project, or I can go to the library and take my time, or you know what, I'm going to take that lovely long walk I kept putting off. The focus instantly shifts from the perceived loss of social connection to the unexpected gain of personal discretionary time.
Exactly. Or let's take the confidence example. You made a frustrating mistake, maybe booking travel online or filing some complicated paperwork. The initial reaction might be frustration, maybe embarrassment. Instead of letting the inner critic scream, I'm just not good at this anymore, you stop, take a breath, and ask, all right, what is the lesson here? And the reframe might become, okay, I now know exactly how not to do this process. That's valuable. And maybe, more importantly, I can write down the correct steps clearly now so I can help my neighbor, or maybe explain it to my kids to save them the same hassle. See, you've reframed it from a personal failing into gaining practical expertise through, well, trial and error.
I find this technique particularly profound because it seems to directly engage the most sophisticated rational part of our brain to counteract that primitive emotional reaction.
That's precisely what's happening neuroscientifically. When you feel stressed, annoyed, or rejected, it's often the primitive survival center of your brain, the amygdala, that triggers an immediate emotional hijack. That's the instant fight, flight, or freeze response kicking in. It can be quite hair-trigger, sometimes more so as we age, perhaps because we've accumulated more experiences of stress over the years, making us a bit hypervigilant.
Right, that amygdala just floods your system with fear or anger almost instantly. It feels overwhelming. But when you deliberately, consciously ask, what is the gift or lesson here? You are forcing the prefrontal cortex to engage. That's the smart, rational, executive control center of your brain right at the front.
That is the absolute key connection. Your prefrontal cortex, the seat of your logic and reason, literally cannot engage in irrational, emotional catastrophizing at the same time as it's actively trying to solve a puzzle or find a constructive lesson. By simply posing that question, you pull your brain out of the amygdala's emotional grip and immediately redirect its resources towards problem solving, towards learning, towards growth.
So you're literally training your mind over time to stop defaulting to feeling like a passive victim of circumstances, and instead start defaulting to becoming an active investigator, looking for the opportunity or the learning.
Precisely. Now, to make this really stick, we need to make it tangible. So here's our lively later life kick for routine 2. We want you to create a physical reminder. Write the question, what is the gift or lesson here, on a small card, or maybe a colorful sticky note. You could even type it out nicely and print it.
And keep it somewhere you'll see it easily. Pop it in your purse or wallet, stick it near the TV remote, or maybe by the kettle in the kitchen. Then, whenever you feel that telltale spike of anxiety or irritation, or maybe that flash of anger, that feeling of your amygdala starting to shout, physically look at that card, let it be your immediate emotional filter, a prompt to pause, breathe, and deliberately engage your smart, rational prefrontal cortex instead of letting those raw emotions just run the show.
It's a simple physical cue to trigger a powerful mental shift.
Okay, we've covered boosting mood instantly with gratitude and managing those daily annoyances with the reframing filter. Now let's move on to routine number 3. This one goes a bit deeper, addressing core issues of identity and purpose, using a form of self-programming. It's the 3-minute positive affirmation meditation.
Yes, and this one is really important because we need to acknowledge a specific challenge that can sometimes arise, particularly in later life. Major life transitions, things like retirement, maybe downsizing your home, the profound loss of a spouse, or even children moving far away. These can sometimes lead to a real questioning of identity, a feeling of, well, maybe obsolescence or loss of purpose.
That feeling of I'm not needed in the same way anymore, or my main role is gone, it can be quite unsettling, and it can easily lead to this persistent, kind of corrosive negative self-talk that just quietly chips away at your confidence over time.
It does. And the brain, especially the subconscious mind, needs a way to proactively counteract those harmful narratives.
Yeah.
We need to consciously program it with messages of strength, value, and ongoing purpose.
So the solution we're proposing is what we call the conviction practice. We're asking you to set aside just 3 minutes. Doesn't take long. You can do this sitting comfortably, maybe in your favorite armchair, or even standing tall, feeling your feet firmly on the ground. Close your eyes, if that helps you focus. And then you repeat 3 simple positive statements about yourself.
And the absolutely crucial element here isn't just mechanically saying the words, it's the conviction behind them. You need to speak these statements either aloud, maybe just in a whisper, or even powerfully in your own mind, but speak them as if they are already undeniably true. You're not wishing, you're stating your profound intention for who you are and what you embody in this phase of your life.
And you should choose affirmations that genuinely resonate with your goals, your feelings about this stage of life. Make them personal. For instance, if you're grappling with feeling maybe less useful than before, a powerful affirmation could be, I have important wisdom and experience to share today. If mobility or health is a concern, maybe, I am healthy and active today, focusing on the present capability. Or if finding peace is the goal, I embrace joy and peace in my life right now. The key is that intentional, focused repetition over those 3 minutes. Really feel the truth of the words as you say them.
And again, this isn't just psychological trickery. This practice is backed by some really quite specific and fascinating brain science. We're not just talking about boosting general mood here. We're talking about strengthening your fundamental sense of self-worth.
Right. The research shows that repeating these kinds of positive affirmations actively strengthens the neural connections in the parts of the brain responsible for self-processing.
Specifically, one key area we're influencing is the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, often shortened to VMPC. This region plays a really central role in how you see yourself, how you evaluate your own worth, and how you integrate positive information about your identity into your self-concept.
So by consistently feeding that VMPC with affirming statements, I am valuable, I'm capable, I'm resilient, I'm connected, you are literally physically building up your sense of confidence, purpose, and self-worth from the inside out. You're reinforcing the internal evidence, the brain's belief, that you are exactly where you need to be and that your contribution, your value, is ongoing and real.
It's arguably the ultimate antidote to those creeping feelings of obsolescence or being past it. You're using your own focused mental energy to define and reinforce your continued powerful value, completely independent of external markers like a former job title or the daily demands of raising a family that might now be in the past. You get to define your own worth, your own legacy right now, every single day.
Okay, so for our lively later life kick for this third routine, we want to suggest using a little bit of technology to make this practice almost effortless, especially for those mornings when maybe focus feels a bit difficult, or perhaps repeating phrases out loud feels a little awkward or unnatural at first.
That's right. Try this. Record your favorite affirmation, just 1 or 2 that really resonate with you. Record them in your own voice, speaking clearly and calmly, into your phone's voice recorder app. Most smartphones have one built in. Then, set a daily alarm on your phone, maybe for, say, 7:30 a.m. or whenever your day typically starts to get going.
And here's the clever part. When that alarm goes off, instead of playing a jarring beep or some annoying tune, set it to play your recording. So what you hear is your own calm voice reminding you, I have important wisdom to share today, or I embrace joy and peace in my life. It's a really neat way to use technology to automatically reinforce that new positive mindset without you having to consciously do anything extra in that moment. It kind of programs you gently while you're maybe pouring your first cup of tea or coffee.
It just provides that gentle, consistent nudge to start the day grounded in your chosen positive identity.
All right. We've covered quite a bit of ground in this deep dive today. Hopefully you're feeling like you have a practical mental toolkit now, not just a collection of abstract ideas.
Yeah, let's quickly recap the tools. We started with the 60-second gratitude practice, that immediate flip of your brain chemistry, intentionally searching for the good, for abundance. Then we introduced the reframing filter, asking that key question, what is the gift or lesson here? To manage those inevitable daily setbacks and engage your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex. And finally, we talked about the 3-minute positive affirmation meditation using conviction to program your subconscious for confidence, for purpose, strengthening that vital VMPC.
And the really crucial distinction, the main takeaway we hope you carry forward from all this, is that positive thinking practiced this way, it isn't about being naive. It's not about pretending bad things don't happen or ignoring real challenges. Not at all. It is about being intensely, purposefully, and unapologetically mentally disciplined.
I really like the muscle analogy here. Think of these practices exactly like exercising a muscle. If you use that gratitude muscle every single day, even for just 60 seconds, it gets stronger, faster, more automatic in its positive response. If you consistently use the reframing muscle every time a little annoyance pops up, that rational pathway strengthens, and the emotional amygdala reaction naturally quiets down over time. But if you neglect these mental muscles, if you just let your brain default back to worry and anxiety, like Margaret was unintentionally doing well, those positive pathways weaken, and stress inevitably takes back the driver's seat.
Your mind truly is a brilliant, incredibly powerful, intricate machine. It really deserves the absolute best fuel you can give it. And that fuel is optimism, it's gratitude, it's purposeful, positive thought, all delivered intentionally, consciously. You are absolutely capable of building this better, more resilient brain.
So by really committing to integrating just one of these 3 simple routines into your daily life, starting this week, you are making a direct, tangible, substantial investment in yourself. You're not just, trying out some passing trend. You are actively investing in a longer, sharper, and significantly brighter future for yourself, built on the solid foundation of your own strengthened positive circuit.
And maybe here's a final thought, something provocative for you to mull over as you start experimenting with these practices. We talked quite a bit about how chronic stress, that constant cortisol drip, can actually damage memory centers like the hippocampus. So ask yourself this. If I successfully build this positive circuit, if I actively reduce my daily cortisol load through gratitude, reframing, and affirmation, what stored memory, what complex skill I learned years ago, or maybe what creative talent that I feel I haven't accessed in ages? What might I finally unlock or retrieve from my own mind, simply because it's calmer and healthier? Maybe the past isn't quite as fixed as we think. Maybe it's just waiting for a calmer, more positive mind to access it fully. Something to think about.
A wonderful thought to end on.
Thank you all so much for joining us today for this exploration of brain health and intentional positivity right here on Lively Later Life.
We genuinely want this to be a community. We asked earlier, and we'll ask again, what is the first thing you think about when you wake up? Or, if you started using one of these routines we discussed, maybe share your positive first thought or your go-to affirmation in the comment section below wherever you're listening. Let's inspire each other. Let's build this positive community together.
We really do appreciate you tuning in and making Lively Later Life a part of your journey toward, well, exactly that, a lively later life.
And if you found this discussion helpful, if it sparked something for you, please take just a moment right now. It really helps us out. Subscribe to our channel, Lively Later Life. You can find us easily. We're at Lively Later Life. And if you could leave us a positive review on whatever platform you use, that would be wonderful. Your support is honestly instrumental in helping us reach more Canadian seniors who are looking, just like you, to keep their minds sharp and their futures bright. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.